Hello and welcome to Admin 101. My name is Dave Darrington, manager of Gainsight's onboarding training team, and this module is the introduction to our Gainsight for Administrators program. By the end of this module, you should know what to expect from the rest of Admin 101. We'll make sure that you have a high-level understanding of the foundations of customer success and what part Gainsight will play within your organization. Most importantly, you will understand the resources essential to building your experience and expertise with Gainsight, such as Gainsight Go and Community, as well as to understand how to navigate the application as a whole. Let's start with this course itself. Admin 101 is intended for someone just starting out as a Gainsight admin. It is designed to answer those two critical new admin questions. Where do I start and what do I need to know? While there is a lot of documentation available online, this training will help to give you the big picture of Gainsight administration. We'll walk you through some of its fundamental features from an admin perspective and show you how these features interact with one another. It's important to note that this course is not comprehensive. We won't be covering all the features available, and more advanced topics will be discussed in future courses. In order to start your journey as a Gainsight admin, we recommend you watch a couple of videos that will give you an end-to-end overview. Links to these videos are provided in the course text attached below. In order to understand Gainsight, you first need an understanding of customer success. Customer success is built upon 5 pillars shown here. The CSM's job is to operationalize the customer lifecycle, manage customer risk, demonstrate value to our customers, drive expansion and advocacy, and enable cross-functional visibility. As the admin, you will be setting up Gainsight to perform some of these functions and to empower your CSMs in pursuit of these values. Gainsight is a customer success management tool built upon the Salesforce platform. We won't cover all the use cases listed on this screen, but in general, Gainsight collects and processes data from various sources and makes it more accessible to your CSMs, while also allowing you, as the admin, to automate and standardize crucial business functions. By making all your data more accessible, you and your team will be better able to prioritize actions, assess renewal risk, and identify over-underutilization of resources. Your CSMs will be better able to prepare for calls, and management will be able to more accurately forecast revenue. From a high-level perspective, Gainsight will help you to proactively manage your customer lifecycle through its various stages. As some examples, this may take the form of generating a call to action for a new customer that informs the CSM to make a welcome call, or perhaps automatically responding to detractors on NPS surveys, or even keeping an updated 360-degree view of a customer for CSMs to use when they go into meetings. From onboarding through to renewals, Gainsight will help you to identify and take action on the events, risks, and opportunities that spring up throughout your customer lifecycle. And you as the admin are going to be called upon to configure these features that drive your customer success team's environment. There are 4 primary ways to get help when you need it. Each is unique and designed to provide a certain type and level of help. Let's visit each of them in more detail. Gainsight Go is our primary support site. Here you can find tutorials, answers to the most frequently asked questions, and links to the other levels of support that we'll be discussing today. On this slide you'll see an image of Gainsight Go, which is now organized with 2 rows of icons. The first row provides tutorials and documentations for using Gainsight. So we'll go over a few of these, starting with Getting Started. This gives you some tutorials for basic functions and addresses many of the things that we'll be covering in Admin 101. Product documentation allows you to find tutorials and is organized by product features. Business Processes gives information on how to configure and to implement Gainsight for specific business processes. And finally, Release Notes allows you to see what's been added or changed recently with the latest or even upcoming Gainsight releases. The second row of icons provides further resources, should you not be able to find existing information on your problem or your question. Community, for example, is our online forum, which we'll talk about in a minute. Contact Support leads you to contact us directly and to be able to file a support ticket. And finally, Training and Videos delivers exactly what it promises, training and videos on a variety of different topics. As you can see, Gainsight Go is a great first stop when looking for answers. So now, let's take a look at Community. Community is our online forum where admins can interact with each other and the Gainsight team. We highly encourage you to have an active presence here. Not only is this a great place to find answers to questions, but you can also submit ideas for how we can improve Gainsight, report on problems you're experiencing, and learn best practices from us or from other Gainsight administrators. For a great overview on Community, we recommend you watch our Intro to Gainsight's Community, linked below. On the next slide, we'll give you a brief video overview on the key points of Community. Now let's do a brief overview of Community. Once again, we'd recommend looking at our Intro to Community video that's referred to or linked to elsewhere within this training, but this will give you the highlights. First off, if you don't have an account already, you can click register and select a Google or Facebook account, or the preferred method is to associate your work email address so that we know who you are and can help you better. Otherwise, just sign in, log in, and you're into the system. I'll give you a brief overview of the categories that you will see. If you click the Categories tab, this will open up a listing of all the categories that you would have access to. Now, these range from Reports and Dashboard, Cockpit, Rules Engine, all the common and usual suspects that you might have questions or want to get more information about. Even we have best practices here, and further down the list you will see something we talked about before, which are admin office hours. I'll use this to demonstrate some other functionality. So for example, if I want to follow all of the sessions that we'll be having and all the discussions we have around admin office hours, I could click the plus follow button, and as long as I'm logged in, that will send me a digest of emails periodically when there's a new thread that is generated. Down below you'll see all the conversations associated with that. For example, I have an admin office hours coming up fairly soon. If I click on that, as I discussed before, this gives you an opportunity to register for a session, so to let us know if we're coming, and to make a post. Now, if you wanted to make a post, you simply type your post in here. You can highlight that, etc., and you can submit that. We'll get an email of that, and everybody in the community can see your questions. Always good questions in these sessions. So let's back out a little bit more, and looking at a particular post, up near the top I can like and I can follow. So if you really like some content, we definitely suggest you like it. If you're interested in the dialogue and it's a long thread, go ahead and follow it. Now, one of the other things that you'll obviously be interested in doing is click making a new post. So to start a new conversation, you can simply click the new post button, and then my conversation goes here, and I would hit next. So let's pretend I'm looking for Rules Engine. The first thing that happens if I click on this and I click next, it will show me a listing of different posts that are already out there that might be similar to mine. So we always encourage you to look through first before making a post. Over on the right hand side of the screen, you'll also see that we are interlinked with our support site, so the documentation that you've seen before. Things that are related to the search that you've had are on this list as well. And that's it for our brief overview of Community. Again, if you have any questions, look at the Intro to Community video, or jump into Community and start participating. Admin office hours take the form of weekly webinars in which we answer your questions and give you tips for working with Gainsight. These are free to participate in and easy to join. To attend a session, check our community threads for admin office hours, post your question in Community, and register for the session you can attend. If you want to get a better idea of what admin office hours are like, previously recorded sessions are linked via the admin office hours section of Community. If you have a support agreement with Gainsight and have questions which require more immediate attention, you can always file a support ticket. Our agents will contact you within 48 hours. The easiest place to do this is via Gainsight Go, the support site we visited earlier. By clicking on the link in the top right corner, you're prompted for more information. Now let's walk through the act of submitting a new ticket. Very simply, if I go to support.gainsight.com, this is Gainsight Go, I can click on the Submit a Ticket button. Now, of course, if you've never done this before, you will need to send an email to support@gainsight.com with your information requesting access to the support site so that you can actually work on creating tickets. So now if I click Submit a Ticket, it'll ask me to log in. At this point, I will use my login and sign in. Now, once I've signed in, I should be in the back end of Zendesk, which is our support system. And if I click plus add ticket, now I will be presented with a new ticket window where I'll be able to type my subject and then my description. And then when you're complete, simply click submit and you are done. Now let's take some time to turn our attention back to the role of a Gainsight administrator. The first thing to know is that being a Gainsight admin is a role and not necessarily a job title. Admins may be called things in different organizations, but there are some common threads here. As the admin, you're first responsible for implementing your organization's Gainsight instance. You'll be maintaining and configuring it to fit your organization's need. And finally, you'll coordinate cross-functionally to implement your organization's business processes to achieve amazing gains in both efficiency and impact. Great admins take a high degree of ownership of their work. This is your instance, and you should be familiar with its workings and its data. From a business perspective, it's important for the admin to have an understanding of customer success, which is the ultimate purpose of Gainsight. And you should also be able to work cross-functionally and advocate effectively for best practices. From a technical perspective, you don't need to be a developer, but it's helpful to have Salesforce experience. Critical thinking and problem-solving skills are especially important, and it's good to have an understanding of object-oriented concepts as well as Boolean operations, ifs, ands, and ors. From a background perspective, previous Gainsight experience is obviously helpful, but any sort of sales ops or business development experience will also be helpful. Typically, we see customer success managers and or account managers with an affinity for technology, data, and process being very successful here. Project management experience is also a plus. Basically, if you have a CSM that takes particular glee in using logic to break down problems, you might have found a great candidate for your admin. As an admin, you'll be working with a lot of specialized terminology. We'll run through some of it now, but we also have a curated vocabulary page on the URL listed on the screen. So here are some of the terms. CTA stands for, of course, Call to Action. C360 is our shorthand for Customer 360. This is a dashboard which you get a 360-degree view. You can easily see information pertaining to any customer that you have in your system. CSM is, of course, a Customer Success Manager. MDA is Matrix Data Architecture, a specific piece of Gainsight's architecture that we'll cover in depth later. The Rules Engine is a tool for automating tasks within Gainsight. Scorecards are a user interface element for visualizing data. SFDC, shorthand for Salesforce.com. Success Express, that's a guided implementation program which many of you may have gone through or may be going through. And Usage Data, which is a term for data brought into Gainsight from other resources. Again, we'll cover this in more depth later. At this time, we'd also like to introduce you to a new feature of Gainsight, Gainsight Vault. Vault is a feature that allows our team to create and store best practice assets for which you can download and use in your own organization. We'll be using Vault in some examples throughout Admin 101. This currently allows you to import playbooks, surveys, email templates, and even rules, and more features will be coming soon. Now that you have some idea of what an admin does, let's give you a quick tour of Gainsight. We'll be covering how to use and configure everything in detail later, but this section is just to give you a general idea of what all is there and how to navigate to it. This demo of Gainsight is the new 5.0 UI update. This is a substantial change over what you may have seen in previous versions of Gainsight. Now, you can see we have different things like a hamburger menu, and we've occluded or hidden the typical menu bar that you normally see as a part of Salesforce. Everything is still there under the hood. Things are just given a fresh coat of paint and a new look and feel to make it a little bit easier and more appealing to use Gainsight environment. So let's start from the top. Remember, we had multiple tabs here at the top of the screen, from Gainsight to Customers, to Cockpit, to Survey, etc. These are the normal things that you used to see. By default, and this button here will preserve which look, so whether you have the menu bar open or not. And if I click that, I can hide it and obscure it. Now, from the top menu, I have the hamburger menu, or so it's called, and that lists the same tabs that were listed along the top of the screen, such as Gainsight, Customers, Cockpit, etc. So everything is still there, it's just in a little bit different layout. What's cool is that there is now more fundamental features, so I can look for a certain function like I could in Rules Engine or reports or in different areas of the system. So it's very nice. So let's start from the top. Once again, if you are very new to Gainsight, you will want to have a feeling of how to work or navigate throughout the system. So let's start by clicking the hamburger menu. Again, that's over on the top left corner of the screen. And we'll walk through each one of these very briefly. So first off, I always start off at Gainsight page. This is the home page of the screen. Now if I select Customers, that gives me and these are more end-user centric screens, but this gives me a look at all of the customers that I may have identified for a particular view. There are some sub-views to this, and I'll get further into each of these screens as I proceed through the modules. So that's a customer screen. Thereafter we have Cockpit. Now that is where CSM will see their calls to action, have access to playbooks, have access to Copilot, etc. So here you can see that's coming up, and I'll allow that to complete. And again, we will look at all of these features in more detail later as they walk through. Something to note is if I want to look at a particular customer, now we have that feature right front and center and anywhere throughout the system. It's a global type of search. So let's look for Abbott, and you can see that that name comes up very quickly, and it opens up the Customer 360 page. Customer 360 is again where you can look at a 360-degree view of a specific customer. Now the 360 page has come up. You can see that there's multiple views that I could look at. I could look at my scorecard, history, features, etc. Again, we'll get in more detail soon. Now let's proceed to the next list on the hamburger menu, and that is Survey. Survey is where you can create NPS surveys or regular surveys and have a bird's eye view of all the features underneath that. Again, at various points here I'll show you, you can see the new Vault option that will allow you to download an example of an email template or a survey in some format, so it's very useful, and we'll show you detail about that soon. Moving on, Vault actually has its own landing page, so you can go directly to Vault, and there we can navigate and look at all the different kinds of features throughout. Now assets may be, like I said before, playbooks, surveys, email templates, rules, and reports. I can search through those assets as well, and I can download ones that I need directly from the Vault menu. Going further, now you may have seen this if you've been a previous user. If not, reports are under Report Builder. If I click on Report Builder, that will take me to the environment where I can build custom reports and develop graphs to fit all of my organization's needs. The next thing down the list will be, and this is under Administration, click the Administration screen. Now by clicking Administration, now I am at the administrative back end of Gainsight that you, as an admin, are going to be spending quite a bit of time on. This as well has been somewhat changed. Again, going along the pattern of the hamburger menu, we have the sidebar with all of the navigation that you need listed accordingly. This has now been broken up somewhat, and we'll get into more detail of each one of these sections, but at the top we have the more general things that we need to work with. Product features, customers, notifications, etc. Further down the list, we have now segmented things like calls to actions, tasks, and playbook into workflow. So these are the things that happen throughout a customer success manager's day. Going a little further, communication, that's where I will configure email and how that's sent out. I will configure permissions for Copilot, and I'll work with surveys in the back end. Operations are considered things like the MDA, connectors, rules, and even how my usage data is configured. And finally, we'll have analytics, which contains my report builder. I can use reports to build dashboards. We have success snapshots, UI views, and I can even customize my CS360, my Customer 360 here. And there's some more down at the bottom, such as health scoring, if I want to do scorecards, and then further on down the line, we have more features. So that's the high-level tour. Remember, I can always go back to the top of the screen in my old view by clicking the chevron here. One more feature that I will look at just very briefly, since we'll spend a lot of time on it in subsequent modules, is the Rules Engine. And the Rules Engine has its own page, and that's been changed too. I will discuss this in the Rules Engine section. And that is all for this module. Thank you for your attention, and we'll see you in the next.